Welcome to Elder Scrolls: The Complete Story. This is going to be one of our largest projects, rivaled probably only by the size of the eventual World of Warcraft series. So we're going to be jumping around. But don't worry, we're going to make sure that you're always aware of what game or historical era we're currently in. The universe for Elder Scrolls is explained in eras, of which we have a total of 6 of them. Things begin in the Dawn Era, with the birth of time itself. Think of this as the Big Bang of this universe. We then move to the Mythic Era, which is where things we know get created. The Aedra and the Daedra and the races of Tamriel all get created here. This then brings us to the First Era, in which we have the First and Second Empires and all that rich early history that we hear so much about. We then go to the Second Era, which is where you get to explore when you're playing Elder Scrolls Online. The Third Era is the Empire of Tamriel, ruled by the Septim Dynasty, and it lasts for 433 years. The games Arena, Daggerfall, Morrowind, and Oblivion all take place during this time period. And at the end of the Septim Dynasty, we have the Fourth Era, which contains the game Skyrim and all of the events therein. The stories of Elder Scrolls jump around through time, spirits linger for centuries, and at various times, great heroes arise, changing the course of history. Due to this, we're going to try and tell the full story in order as best as we can, but like I said earlier, be aware, we might need to jump around some. All information gathered has come from the Elder Scrolls Wiki, the Skyrim Wiki, and playing through the games and reading a lot of those books. I'm also aware that I'm probably going to butcher most of these pronunciations, so I'm going to tell you guys right now, I'm sorry. Lastly, as this is such a massive undertaking, do not hesitate to help us by keeping the story straight down below if we mess up some of the little things. Today, we're going to explain what happened in the Dawn Era, the Big Bang of the Elder Scrolls universe. Things for the Elder Scrolls begin with the creation of the universe, and that began with the chaos of the pre-universe in a primordial state. From this, the black void of nothingness, order and chaos arose. They are the beings of Anu and Padme. They both gave birth to their very own souls, the Anu El and the Sithis. And after making their souls, they began to interplay with each other, and they created the force known as Urbis. Next, the souls gave birth to 2 more beings, Uriel and Lorkhan. Uriel created the concept of time itself, and with something to cling onto, the Urbis began to stabilize, and more Et Ada, or the original spirits, were formed. Hundreds of divine beings came into existence at this time. The great struggle of order and chaos then brings in many more planes of existence into being. These worlds are then inhabited by the Et Ada. But one spirit wasn't content. Lorkhan requested that the mortal realm of Mundus be created, and its population be the beings of the Et Eda's creation. This divided the original spirits into 2 factions. The Aedra wanted this world to be created, and the Daedra didn't want there to be a mortal world. But this was all a trick from Lorkhan. The Aedra began to create the world, but they weren't as eternal as Anu and Padme were. Each part of the world they created took a piece of them with it, something that according to the original text, Lorkhan knew about. This caused a great panic in the Aedra as they watched themselves wither away for the creation of this mortal plane, and many of them fled the mortal world before it was completed. One important El Eda to flee was Magnus, who left in such a hurry that he punched a hole between the planes, allowing magic to flood into Mundus. Only 8 El Eda stayed to the very end, the 8 divines who would then become the gods of the new inhabitants of this world. They can be seen as the planets that orbit Nirn. Nirn is the planet that most of the Elder Scrolls content takes place on. At the end of the Dawn Age, the divines mostly left, other than a few who completely gave up their divinity to become the new mortal race. The Et Eda Lorkhan, who started all of this, had his heart removed from his body and thrown to Nirn as punishment. It would then form the Red Mountain volcano and go dormant for thousands of years. With all the gods leaving Nirn and leaving the universe of Mundus finally, time began to stabilize and the world began to move forward properly. This would start the recorded Elven history and start the Mythic Age. We're nowhere near the first game, and so much has happened in this amazing world. I hope we did it justice with the beginning, and we'll return to the Mythic Age in a bit. But first, I think we need to help some ESO players with the Second Era. Make sure you stay tuned as the Skyrim Ventures are about to begin as the Elder Scrolls Adventures, and we'll see you next time here at Eligible Monster.